Folks, I have to tell you something. There is a man running for United States Senate in the great state of Michigan, and he spent the final night of his campaign at a pool party. A pool party, ladies and gentlemen, hosted by a left-wing internet streamer named Hassan Piker. That is how Abdul El-Sayed, the socialist darling, the progressive heartthrob of the activist left, chose to close out his Senate campaign. Not at a union hall, not at a VFW, at a content creator pool party in Detroit. Now, I want you to think about that. I want you to let that image settle in for a moment. The man who wants to be a United States Senator, who wants to sit in the chamber where Daniel Webster once spoke, where Robert Taft stood athwart history, he's out there doing cannonballs with Hassan Piker. But here's the thing, my friends. Here's the thing that the drive-by media will not tell you. This is not a joke. This is the future of the Democrat Party. They are not hiding it anymore. They are celebrating it at poolside. And meanwhile, in Wisconsin, a Democrat gubernatorial candidate named Francesca Hong, I have this story right here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers, told the world that she once fled a Culver's restaurant because there were too many old white people. She nearly had an anxiety attack at a fast food restaurant in Wisconsin. And in New York City, the new mayor, a self-described democratic socialist named Zohran Mamdani, is purging business leaders from city advisory boards and replacing them with people who have represented actual terrorists, not metaphorical terrorists, actual documented terrorists. The left is not hiding anymore, folks. They are not moderating. They are not triangulating. They are going full speed, top down, toward the cliff. And they want to take your city, your state, and your country with them. I'm Rick LeBow. This is Rush Hour, and we are just getting started. Now let's talk about Michigan. Because the Michigan Democratic Senate primary today is, in my humble estimation, one of the most important elections in the country right now. And I do not say that lightly, and I do not say that hyperbolically. Here is what is on the ballot. On one side, you have Haley Stevens, a sitting congresswoman, establishment Democrat, your garden variety liberal. She believes in the things liberals believe in. Fine. She's wrong about everything, but she's at least a recognizable type of political creature. You know what you're getting. On the other side, you have Abdul El-Sayed. Where do I even begin with Abdul El-Sayed? The man is a former health commissioner from Detroit, a Bernie Sanders acolyte, a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists of America. And folks, it gets better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. Though from an entertainment standpoint, it is marvelous. El-Sayed's campaign paid $75,000 in consulting fees to a Detroit pastor who once stood up at a 2013 gathering and praised the leadership of Louis Farrakhan, Calypso Louis himself, the man who called Jewish people termites. That Farrakhan. That's the guy whose praises this pastor was singing. And Abdul El-Sayed wrote that pastor a $75,000 check. Now, the drive-by media, our friends in the press, they will tell you this is guilt by association. They will say, Rick, you can't hold a candidate responsible for every pastor who gets a consulting fee. Oh, really? Oh, is that right? Because I seem to recall that these same people spent approximately 4 years demanding that every Republican in the country personally disavow various statements made by various people they had maybe met once at a fundraiser. 4 years of, do you condemn? Do you condemn? Directed at Republicans. But El-Sayed writes a $75,000 check to someone who praised a man who compared Jewish people to insects. And our friends in the press say, well, let's look at his healthcare platform. 2 sets of rules, folks. Always 2 sets of rules. Now, I want to talk about what this race actually means, because it goes beyond Abdul El-Sayed. What is happening in the Democrat Party right now is a civil war, and not a small one. This is the establishment, the Clintonites, the Obama people, the Haley Stevens wing, versus the full-on socialist takeover crowd. And the socialist crowd is winning. They are winning primaries, they are setting the agenda, they are running candidates who close out their campaigns at pool parties with internet streamers. The establishment Democrats are in a panic. You can smell it. Senator Also Brooks of Maryland was on television just yesterday. I want to get to her in a moment, telling everyone who would listen that Trump hurt the people who voted for him, and they're all going to vote Democrat in the midterms. That is a senator's idea of a closing argument. They're going to vote for us because the other guy is bad. That's it. That's the whole pitch. No vision, no agenda, no here is why the Democrat Party deserves your vote. Just the other guy is bad. Which is interesting because the other side of their party, the El-Sayed side, at least has a vision. It is a catastrophic, Venezuela-flavored, economy-destroying vision, but it is a vision. When you put those two things side by side, you understand why the socialists keep winning primaries. Here's the thing about El-Sayed that I find instructive, let me put it that way. His whole brand is wrapped up in being the voice of the people, the outsider, the progressive fighter for the working class. And he ends his campaign at a Detroit pool party with Hassan Piker. Now, for those of you in Rio Linda, Hassan Piker is a wealthy left-wing internet streamer who lives in a multi-million-dollar home in Los Angeles. He is the nephew of Cenk Uygur, who runs the Young Turks. His entire enterprise is built on telling working-class young people that the system is rigged against them, from the comfort of his very expensive gaming chair. And El-Sayed, the champion of the working class, the man who wants to represent Michigan in the United States Senate, thought, yes, that is the room I want to be in on my last night. That is the vibe I want to close on. You cannot make this up. You cannot. Now, what happens if El-Sayed wins today? What does that mean for the general? He would face Republican Mike Rogers, who has Trump's endorsement. And here is what the drive-by media conveniently glosses over. Michigan is a purple state. Michigan is a state that went for Trump. Michigan has a lot of working-class voters who do not want democratic socialism, who do not want to abolish this, transform that, enshrine the other thing in the Constitution. But the media will tell you, oh, the energy is on the left. The activists are fired up. Look at all those young people at the pool party. They always say that. Every cycle, the energy is on the left. The activists are fired up. And then working people go into the voting booth and vote for the candidate who doesn't want to fundamentally redesign the country they built their lives in. I said it once, and I will say it again. I know the left like I know every square inch of my gloriously magnificent body, not just the back of my hand. And what I know about the left is this. They confuse intensity with breadth. They confuse activist energy with majority sentiment. They look at the pool party crowd and think, this is America. It is not America. It is a corner of America that is very loud and very online and is going to be very surprised come November. The Democrat Party is in the process of being taken over by people who have never run a business, never met a payroll, never built a thing, and who believe with religious conviction that the solution to every problem is more government, more redistribution, and more control over your life. And the establishment Democrats who are trying to stop this, bless their hearts. They have no argument against it because they spent 30 years moving in the same direction, just slower. That is the choice in Michigan today. That is the choice the Democrat Party is making right now. And either way they go, the real winner is the American people, because a party that is busy fighting itself is a party that is not busy making your life worse. At least that's the optimistic read on it. Don't worry, they'll find a way. All right, folks, let's hit a few more things, because there is no shortage of material on this fine Tuesday. First up, New York City. Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who I have taken to calling Comrade Zohran, it just fits. It fits like a glove, is proving every single day that when a city elects a self-described democratic socialist as its mayor, they mean it. They are not kidding. He has kicked business leaders off the Mayor's Fund Advisory Board. These were people who were volunteering their time to help fund city programs. Gone. We thank you for your service. Here's the door. Why? Because Comrade Zohran does not want the capitalist class in his advisory circles. He is ideologically consistent, I'll give him that. But here is the part that would be funny if it weren't so infuriating. While people with connections to business are being shown the door, people who have represented actual terrorists are being welcomed in. Top positions. I am not editorializing here, folks. This is what the New York Post reported. Defend terrorists and cop killers, and you can be a Mamdani legal advisor. Connect yourself in any way to the Epstein world, and you're radioactive. But terrorism? Cop killing? Right this way, here's your badge. This is the coalition of the left in its purest, most undistilled form. The people who burned precincts and the people who cheered them on are now running City Hall in the greatest city in America. And New York elected this. They knew what they were getting. The man ran as a democratic socialist. He did not hide it. And New York said, yes, that's what we want. And now they have it. I hope it's everything they dreamed of. Next. Wisconsin. Francesca Hong, Democratic candidate for governor. She has informed the public that she once nearly had an anxiety attack at a Culver's, folks, a Midwestern fast food chain that serves cheese curds and butter burgers, because there were, and I am quoting directly, too many old white people. Now, I want to be fair here. I want to be scrupulously fair. If any Republican candidate anywhere in this country had said anything remotely approaching that about any other demographic, any other group at all, the story would be wall to wall on every cable channel for 3 weeks. There would be calls to withdraw. There would be demands for apologies. There would be town halls. There would be a CNN special. Francesca Hong says she fled a fast food restaurant due to the racial composition of the other customers, and it gets a paragraph on Breitbart. That's the world we live in, folks. But here is what I want you to notice. This is a woman who wants to be the governor of Wisconsin. Wisconsin, which is one of the whitest states in the country. She is running to govern a state whose demographics apparently give her anxiety attacks at Culver's. Now, setting aside everything else, just on a practical political level, who exactly is advising this woman? Who looked at that story and said, you know what, let that one out? This is what happens when you live entirely within the activist left bubble. You cannot see outside of it. You do not understand that the voters you need to win are the very people at that Culver's. And finally, and I love this one, because this is what happens when politicians chase green energy rainbows with other people's money. The billion-dollar electric vehicle deal that former North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper championed, celebrated, and staked part of his legacy on has officially collapsed. The company was a Vietnamese electric vehicle manufacturer, unproven, no track record, no established market, but Governor Cooper, in his infinite wisdom, struck a deal, presumably with taxpayer sweeteners involved, and declared it a victory for North Carolina and the clean energy future. Well, the future arrived, and the deal is dead. The plants are not being built. The jobs are not coming. The company, it turns out, could not deliver. But we were told the green economy was going to be a jobs bonanza. We were told that all these electric vehicle factories were going to revitalize the heartland. Every Democrat governor in the country was out there cutting ribbons on deals that half of them had not properly vetted, because the politics were good and the press releases wrote themselves. This is what happens, folks, every time. The government picks a winner, the winner loses, and regular people are left holding the bag. Roy Cooper is no longer governor. He is no longer responsible. He has moved on. The jobs that were promised to the people of central North Carolina have not materialized, and the drive-by media will mention it once and then forget about it, because it does not fit the narrative that the green transition is going wonderfully and right on schedule. Don't doubt me on this. There are more of these stories coming. There are more of these deals struck by more of these governors that are going to collapse in exactly the same way. And each time, the people who were promised the jobs will be told it's somebody else's fault. My friends, what a day it has been! What a day, what a country. August of 2026, and the entertainment value of American politics has never been higher. I say that with all the warmth in my heart for this republic. Look, here is what today tells us. The Democrat Party is at a crossroads, and every road they're looking at leads somewhere most Americans do not want to go. Whether it's the Socialist pool party wing, or the anxious Culver's wing, or the purge the business community wing, they are all playing to an audience of activists while the rest of the country watches and shakes its head. The American people are not stupid. They are busy. They are working. They are raising families. They are not sitting around streaming political content or attending rallies. But when you put them in a voting booth, they remember what they saw. They remember the pool party. They remember the pastor and the $75,000 check. They remember the Culver's story and the billion-dollar EV deal that went sideways. They remember. And that is why, with all my considerable confidence, with talent on loan from a higher authority, I am telling you today that the left's current trajectory is not a winning one. It is an entertaining one. It is an endlessly generous gift to this program and to every program like it. But it is not a winning one. And somewhere, deep down, the smarter ones among them know it. Which is why Senator Also Brooks is already on television telling everyone that Trump's voters are coming over to the Democrat side. Preemptive spin. That is what preemptive spin sounds like. They are already bracing for impact. America is not a pool party. America is not an anxiety attack at a Culver's. America is not a mayor who kneecaps every business leader within arm's reach. America is the people who built this country, who work in it every day, who want nothing more than to be left alone to live their lives, raise their children, and keep what they earn. And every time the left reminds those people that they are the enemy, every time they do that, those people remember in November. I'm Rick LeBeau. This has been Rush Hour. Same time tomorrow, if they let us back on.